David, shall we move to recite the three principal aspects of the path or three principal paths? Page 77. Page 77. Three principal paths. Thank you. Okay. Here, as per what we did yesterday, we did a little bit of discussion as to what's the measure of having understood emptiness. So we'll read these. These again, they are very clear, lucid, and easy for us to grab at the points, reflecting upon which will give us the real dharma, sense of dharma. And finally, the the 5 verses. In fact, keeping aside the last one, the 4 verse towards the end explains what emptiness is and what's the measure of having understood emptiness. So let's read this let's read this and see how much we can reflect on the meanings. Yeah, Three Principal Aspects of the Path by Lama Tsongkhapa. I bow down to the Venerable Lamas. As well as I'm able, I'll explain the essence of all the teachings of the Buddha, the path praised by the conqueror's children, entrance for those who desire liberation. Listen with a clear mind, you fortunate ones, who are not attached to the joys of cyclic existence. Strive to make good use of leisure and opportunity, and direct your minds to the path that pleases the Buddhas. Without pure renunciation, an end to attraction for the pleasures of cyclic existence is unattainable. The craving for existence also binds beings, thus from the outset seek renunciation. Reverse attraction to this life by reflecting on how leisure and opportunity are difficult to find and how life is ephemeral and without span. Reverse attraction to future lives by repeatedly thinking of the infallibility of karmas and its effects and the miseries of samsara. Contemplating thus, when for an instant you do not admire the splendors of cyclic existence and remain intent on liberation day and night, renunciation is born in you then. However, renunciation, if not tempered by pure mind of bodhicitta, will not bring forth the perfect bliss of unsurpassed enlightenment. Therefore, the wise ones generate the excellent mind of bodhicitta, swept up in the current of the 4 powerful rivers, tied by strong bonds of karma, so hard to undo, caught in the iron net of self-grasping, completely enveloped by the darkness of ignorance, born and reborn in limited cyclic existence, ceaselessly tormented by the 3 miseries, thinking of your mothers in this condition, generate the supreme mind of bodhicitta. Although you train in renunciation and the mind of bodhicitta, without wisdom that realizes the ultimate reality, you cannot cut the root of cyclic existence. Therefore, strive to understand dependent arising. One who sees in the infallible cause and effect of all phenomena in samsara and nirvana, and destroys all focuses of apprehension, has entered the path which pleases the Buddhas. Appearances are infallible, dependent arising. Emptiness is understanding that is free of assertions. As long as these two are seen as distinct, you have not yet realized the intent of the Buddhas. When these two realizations are concurrent, where the mere sight of infallible dependent origination concurrently destroys the modes of grasping through definite discernment, at that time the analysis of the profound view is perfected. Furthermore, appearances refute the extreme of existence, emptiness refutes the extreme of non-existence. When you understand that emptiness arises in the form of cause and effect, you are not captivated by the view of extremes. O my child, once you have thus realized the points of the 3 principal paths, seek solitude and cultivate strong determination and quickly reach the final aspired goal. Okay. Screen sharing again. Stanza 49 of the chapter 9. Stanza 49. Okay, stanza 48. A mind that is parted from the experience of emptiness may block disturbing emotions, but they will arise once again, may block it temporarily, and they'll arise again like conceptual discriminations arising after the meditative equipoise of non-discrimination. Therefore, one needs to meditate on emptiness of objective existence. Okay, this I like to just quickly explain What's the difference between, say, when one has a sense of aversion, when one has a sense of aversion to the object, then one is detached from that. So that detachment versus the detachment due to seeing the emptiness of objective existence. Now, let me quickly explain this. Let's say that in the dream, let's say that you have a great affinity to a person in the dream, and then the dream continues to have say you having some conflicts for some trivial reasons, and then you start to feel aversion to each other, angry towards each other. Angry means you push each other away from yourself, and then the earlier feeling of closeness, feeling of attachment is gone now. Now the mind, let's say this is the other person in the dream, and you are here, and in the dream initially there's a tremendous closeness there. Then for some reasons of dispute, then you start to be distant and you feel so averse to that person. So what happens? Look, your mind, what is happening? Your mind, initially it was going closer to the person. Now it is running away from the person. So there's involuntary pull and push happening. Whereas when you wake up from this to see that this dream is not real, it's not from the object, it's from my mind, it's from the mind, which is the subject, then the attachment to the person dissolves, not in ways of running away from it. So there, in the dream, when the attachment dissolves, you were actually running away from the object. So while you involuntary pull stops, involuntary push starts. So in other words, involuntary pull and push is constant there. Whereas when you wake up, that involuntary pull stops, but it will not result in the involuntary push. So there's no involuntary push, there's no involuntary pull. So you're freed from the involuntary pull and push. Involuntary pull and push is the loss of freedom. Loss of freedom is samsara. So this is how we have to understand it. This is difference, where if you don't understand the emptiness of objective existence, then the involuntary pull and push somehow keeps happening. If involuntary pull stops, but then it will transform into involuntary push. Whereas waking up from the sleep of ignorance, waking up from the ignorance, viewing things objectively real, then you are left with no object. You see that nothing's really from the object of the two, object and subject. Object dissolves. Only the subject is left. So there's nothing which would pull and push. You are freed from the pull and push. That is where you have where you are freed from all forms of involuntary pull and push, all forms of loss of freedom. That is the total regaining of the freedom. That is the freedom from all miseries, all fears stop. This is the nirvana. Okay, this is what we need to understand it in the context of the debates happening between Prasangika and the other schools. Now continue reading from 48, which reads, a mind that is parted from the experience of emptiness, where the emptiness is not there, then they may block disturbing emotions, involuntary disturbing emotions or afflictions such as involuntary pull stops, it can transmute into involuntary push. Involuntary push stops, it can transmute into involuntary pull. So the thing is that when that is happening, that the tendency is there always to return to the original afflictive emotions or the disturbing emotions, but they will arise once again, like the conceptual discrimination arising after the meditated equipoise of non-discrimination, which we discussed earlier, that in the meditative state, from the infinite space to the infinite consciousness to the vacuity to the peak of existence, where you try to dissolve the discrimination, sense of discrimination of the object. You try to dissolve the subject, because the subject cannot be dissolved altogether. Then the activity of the subject is removed. And so like the mind becomes so inactive state, very inactive state, is as though like no discrimination is happening, no active apprehension this act of apprehension is happening. But when this karma to project a person in this state exhausts, again the mind will be again start to be pull and push by the discrimination. Oh, this is said, this is not it, and so forth. It'll happen. So once the discrimination stops for temporarily, it again started to come back. Likewise, without the wisdom of emptiness, then although your afflictions, gross afflictions stop, but they can again come back. So these are the nuances that we need to keep in mind. Okay, in this connection, just a little bit of a reminder in some cases is that some people, when they learn about Buddhism, when they learn about minor teachings, when they learn about Bodhisattva practice, when they learn about Tonglen practice of taking the suffering of the others on yourself and your happiness to others, and do that, then they, yes, there's always the teaching given that to view all the beings as like a Buddha. Then one goes to the extent of being very impractical, saying, oh, everybody's nice, there's nobody who's not nice. This is very impractical. We should be very realistic. What is not nice, just not nice. What is nice, there's nice. When I say everybody should be seen in the light of the Buddha, means that everybody has the Buddha nature. And for me, finally, that that I suffer, that they have any problem, somehow it is related to the external factors and the internal factors. And of the two hands coming together to create the sound are the external factors, the nasty people, environment, COVID-19, so forth, and internal factors, your self-grasping ignorance, being in the dream and seeing the dream is real. That is happening there. And then external factors like COVID-19, the nasty people, and whatever is there. And these two come together, it explodes into the sound of miseries. This is how the miseries happen. So the point is that to really get into all the miseries completely, the two options, either you get rid of the external factors or you get rid of the internal factors of being in a dream. So to get rid of external factors without working to getting rid of being in a dream, external factors, there are innumerable external factors. And what we see as external factors on in a way, it is like, as though like you are in the whirlpool, where you cannot really come out of the external factors. Because, say, one example that I give is that when you're by yourself, you say that, oh, I'm lonely. And when you're with other people, you say that I have no privacy. This is how, how our mind works. Where the external factors, no matter whatever external factors, if it is plus, there's a problem. If it is minus, there's a problem. If you have the good family, there's a the problem. With the good family, the separation is bound to happen. The pain is so acute. And if there's a bad family, the fights happen. The moment you wake up, the fights happen. The moment you wake up, irritation happens. What's the point of being a family? And being in a good family, there's a problem. So if you get a job, there's a problem. Then you struggle with the promotion. If you get a promotion, there's a problem. I'm not promoted higher than the other person. Always there's some problem. The thing is that finally, that external factors, number one, they're innumerable in number. So it is like the millions of poisonous leaves growing on the tree. If you try to remove well, yes, of course, the direct cause is the poisonous trees. The wind blows from there. You have skin rashes on this. You have skin rashes. But if you because of the leaves, poisonous leaves there, you try to pluck the leaves one by one. You may be able to remove like 400 leaves, 500 leaves. But then within 1 week, there would be like more thousands of new leaves, poisonous leaves growing. So this is what happens. But they try to remove the external factors. Now, the wise people, what they do is that of the two hands, external factors, take care of them to the best you can. But it's impossible that you can get rid of all the external factors completely. All the great enlightened beings in the past, they came, but still we have all the external factors intact. They could not succeed to get rid of all the external factors. But what they did was they taught us how to get into the internal factors. What is that internal factor? Internal factor of getting sucked up in the dream. Getting sucked up in the dream to believe the dream is real. So of the two, the moment you wake up, you will stop believing the dream as real. You will stop believing in dream as objectively real. So of the two hands, one hand is removed. Internal hand is removed. And then the external factors, however numerous and however forceful the external factor, no sound. All the sound of the misery is stopped. So this is the approach of the wise people. Whereas, and from this, we can understand that how to distinguish between the wise and the unwise. Unwise people will always look for the external factors to blame for your miseries. External factors all the time. And then how to get into the external factors? You cannot do anything. Either because that is not that you see as objectively real, separated by distance and objectively there. And then your job is to push it. How to push it? Anger. And anger, it perpetuates you more into the web of suffering. More karmas accumulated, more negative karmas accumulated, and more pains in the future. So the wise people, how to distinguish the wise and the unwise? Wise people are the people who focus more to remove the internal factor, because the number is just one. To the believing in the dream is real, believing in things to be objectively real, that is the internal factor. Just remove that and you wake up. The moment you wake up, your dream will not affect you in any ways. So you're totally freed from being affected by the dream. No fear. All the fears created by the dream simply stops. So only the one hand, external factors are left. No matter how numerous external factors are, no matter how forceful the external factors are, they cannot give rise to the sound of the miseries. Okay, this is the wise people's approach. Okay, so stanza 48 reads, like conceptual discrimination arising after the meditative equipoise of non-discrimination, therefore, one needs to meditate on emptiness, to wake up from the sleep of ignorance and stop believing in the objective existence. Don't believe in the objective existence. Try to see that what I see is objective existence. This is deceptive. 49. So again, if you accept, okay, 49 is again like a continuation from the earlier part about the whether or not the Mahayana teachings, Mahayana sutras, they are the authentic teachings of Buddha. It reads, so again, if you accept as spoken by the Buddha, any speech that has been included in the sutras, then why not you accept the Mahayana sutras, which for the most part are equivalent to your sutras? So the advocates of the personal liberation, they have their own system, meaning that the sutras sutras meant to help the personal liberation seekers. So these sutras, they take them as authentic teachings of Buddha. So Bodhisattva they were saying that if you accept as spoken by the Buddha any speech that has been included in the sutras, what you see in the sutras, these are the real teachings of the Buddha. If this is your take, then why not accept the Mahayana sutras? You compare what you believe as sutras with the Mahayana sutras. You compare them, most of them are same, except for the Bodhisattva spirits, except for cultivating the Bodhisattva spirits to work to become Buddha for the benefit of sentient beings. Except for these parts, you read the four seals, you read the Is Dharma mantra, all these things are just the same. So then why not accept the Mahayana sutras, which for the most part are equivalent to your sutras, meaning the sutras which you identify as the authentic teachings of Buddha. 15. If because of one exception like in the Mahayana teachings of the Bodhisattva and so forth, one would become corrupt. One would say that this is not then the actual teaching of the Buddha. Then why? Because of one equivalent to your sutras would not all have been spoken by the Buddhas. In other words, saying that, simply because there is one point which the Mahayana Sutra doesn't tally with what is said there in the sutras available for the advocates of the personal liberation. simply because of one point. If you say that the Mana Sutras, they are not the real sutras, then there are many in parallel which are similar, which are same. Why not you say that because of seeing these, there are many points similar, why not you accept the Mana Sutras as the authentic teachings of Buddha? Same reason applies. Great one. And who would consider unacceptable some speech, the depths of which even Mahakashyap and the like could not fathom, simply because you cannot understand? This is very important. Okay. Now, finally, at this point, what is that? What Bodhisattva Shantideva, in a way, like implicitly, what he was accepting is that there are some sections in the Mana Sutras which do not really agree with what you find in the sutras meant for the personal liberation seekers. What are these points? These points are the points which are so profound that even the Mahakashyap and Mahakashyap, we have to know about Mahakashyap. This is very important. The Buddha, while the Buddha was still in a manifestation form, what we call is still living or in the manifest form, Ananda was very, very popular and very famous, of course, very influential because he was the chief attendant of the Buddha, and everybody respected him so much. And strangely, and of course, he's so learned, not only just being the chief attendant, but he was really, really learned. And there's so much respect according to him by the public. And it was expected that when the Buddha assumed Mahaparinirvana, then the first heir should be the Ananda. Ananda should be the first heir of the Buddha. No, Buddha did not appoint Ananda as the first heir. Buddha appointed Mahakashyap as the first heir. And the people could not really believe it. Why? Okay, Mahakashyap was appointed as, and the story has it that the story has it that the Mahakashyap, he was, before he met with the Buddha, he was already a greatly acclaimed teacher, and he had so many brilliant students. The Shariputra, all these great the Arhats, they were before they met the Buddha, they were all students of Mahakashyap. And then the Shariputra and others, they met the Buddha, they started receiving teachings from the Buddha, and then they sought permission from their own teacher, Mahakashyap. They be allowed to receive teachings from the Buddha Shakyamuni. And then Mahakashyap said, yes, of course, please. And then Mahakashyap was little astonished to see that all his brilliant students, they all go towards the Buddha Shakyamuni, and they feel so happy there. So he sensed that there must be something so unique about this teacher. So he showed interest to meet the Buddha himself. So first he met on the equal ground, and the two of them started having conversation, and Mahakashyap really developed a very profound respect to Buddha, and he requested Buddha to be his teacher as well. This is how Mahakashyap became the Buddha's student. And then of course, Mahakashyap, then he became Arhat. Then at the Buddha assuming Mahaparinirvana, before that he appointed Mahakashyap as the first heir to lead the Sangha, to take charge of the whole the Buddha's teachings. This was what happened. And Mahakashyap was really learned. So what Bodhisattva Shantideva was saying is that there are teachings in the Mana Sutra which the people, the practitioners of personal liberation, they may not be able to accept some parts of the Mana teachings, because there are some parts which even the Mahakashyap cannot understand. They are very profound concepts which the Mahakashyap cannot really digest or they comprehend because of the profundity of the teachings. And for example, like like how the one can benefit, one can manifest the infinitely to benefit all the beings. And the various samadhis, for example, like say the duration of the snap, this duration you split into 65. It can be like just most likely it will be like 1/100th of a second. Believe it or not, within 1/100th of a second, the bodhisattvas, they trained to meditate on 173 topics, without altering the sequence. And all these, they're able to meditate so fast, very effectively, without altering the sequence within the span of 1/100th of a second, which is like 1/65th of the span of the snap, duration of the snap. So this is what the bodhisattvas train. And this, if you they share with, if you say that there are such samadhis to the those who seek personal liberation, they cannot really comprehend it. They can't believe that such thing that they exist. Okay, so there are such things which even the Mahakashapa cannot really comprehend. So because of this, that's sure it's not because that these points which the personal liberation seekers cannot accept. It's not because that these points are wrong, because that these points are so profound that even the Mahakashapa cannot fathom the profundity. Okay, 51. And who would consider unacceptable some speech, the depths of which even Mahakashapa and the like could not fathom, simply because you cannot understand it. Simply because you, meaning the advocates of the personal liberation, simply because you cannot understand these profound concepts, it is not wise to say that these are not actually taught by the Buddha. 52. After all, the fruit of realizing emptiness is this. Now, the conclusion drawn here is that what is the fruit? What's the benefit of meditating emptiness? So, beginning, let's say the stanza 40, it says that simply realize the Four Noble Truths without understanding, without getting to know the emptiness of objective existence, you can achieve liberation. So why do we need the meditation on emptiness? This was a question asked by the advocates of the personal liberations. Now the Bodhisattva Shantideva was saying that, stanza 52, after all, the fruit of realizing emptiness. Okay, now this is the fruit or the benefit of realizing emptiness. Through freedom from the extremes of attachment and fear, one is able to remain in samsara for the sake of those who suffer due to ignorance. Okay, so Bodhisattva Shantideva is identifying two extremes. And usually we talk of the extremes such as extreme of nihilism and extreme of absolutism. So extremes, we can understand the extreme in different connotations, in different contexts. Don't just the mix up everything. Whenever you talk the extremes, always referring to the as well, like always to refer to the extreme of absolutism and extreme of nihilism. No, the extremes can be understood in different contexts. In the context of samsara and nirvana, there's extreme of attachment and extreme of the fear. Okay. The extreme of attachment and fear. So one thing is say the ordinary beings, they attach to samsara. So this is one extreme of attachment. Then the arahats, they are so scared of samsara. They are so scared of the samsara, because of which they are scared of the attachment to samsara. So they have the fear over samsara. They have the fear. So these are the two, the extremes: extreme of attachment towards samsara, and extreme of acute fear to samsara. And what's the problem? If there's a fear to samsara, that's good. Well, why do we classify that as a fear? What is that as extreme? Why? Okay, that is important point. Because say when one has excessive fear to samsara, then they tend to run towards personal nirvana. They tend to run towards personal liberation. They don't think of serving the sentient beings. They go for their personal liberation. They just care for their personal liberation. They don't really care for the sentient beings. So, and with this, what's the problem? That's fine. It's a personal choice. What's the problem? Even that person wants to have the infinite happiness. So, by this acute fear to samsara, which results them to look for personal liberation, it deters them from seeking Buddhahood. So this is a problem. Because of attachment to samsara, they are not freed from samsara. Because of the fear, acute fear of samsara, they don't achieve Buddhahood. So these are the two extremes. Whereas the bodhisattvas, they are not attached to samsara. So therefore, they will not reap the consequences of samsara, but they are not they are not excessively fearful of samsara to the extent that they run for their personal liberation. They don't do that. Because of this, they continue to be in samsara to help the sentient beings. They continue to be in samsara to help the sentient beings, and this actually helps them to achieve the Buddhahood. Okay, so by not being attached to the samsara, they will be free from samsara. By not being excessively fearful of samsara, they are not being deterred from achieving Buddhahood. They freely can achieve Buddhahood. Okay. After all, the fruit of realizing emptiness is this. Through freedom from extremes of attachment and fear, one is able to remain in samsara, yet the pain of samsara is not there, and for the sake of those who suffer due to ignorance. And at the same time, that they don't run away from samsara in order to help the beings there in samsara. By being in samsara, they will not have the pain because of the wisdom of emptiness. So what makes them to be in samsara and still not feel the pain? Because of the wisdom of emptiness. And not getting the pain, but what made them to stay in samsara? Because of compassion. So compassion makes them courageous not to be acutely scared of samsara. And the wisdom of emptiness, it makes them to be detached from samsara. Detached from samsara, okay, oftentimes people say that the bodhisattvas are greater than the Buddha. Some people who are very naive, who have no exposure to the real the understanding of the Buddhism, they say the bodhisattvas are greater than the Buddhas. Why? Buddhas, they left samsara, and the bodhisattvas, they deliberately come to samsara to help the sentient beings. So the bodhisattvas, they help the sentient beings. Buddhas, they're enjoying now. They left samsara. This is a total naivety. Samsara is not like a local place on the planet Earth. There's a place known as samsara. There's a place known as nirvana. No, it's not like that. Samsara is nothing but but what is samsara? This question. What is samsara? What is nirvana? So last time I gave the analogy of the Mount Kailash. Mount Kailash, look at it through a very clean goggles. You see spotlessly clean, spick-span clean Mount Kailash there. You look at through a dirty goggles, you see the very murky Mount Kailash there. So what you view as the murky Mount Kailash, that is samsara. What you view as the very clean Mount Kailash, that is nirvana. Actually, it's the same object. Same object, and murkiness and the purity. These two, purity representing nirvana and the murkiness representing samsara. These two are nothing but same object seen through two different lenses. So when you look at the things, when you look at the world through the dirty lens of the afflictive obscurations, with the stain of the afflictive obscurations, through this lens of the mind, when you look at things, you see things as imperfect. There is samsara. And then when you look at things from the very pure mind, where with the wisdom of emptiness, afflictive obscurations are all removed, then you look at things, you see the purity, that is nirvana. This is one way of understanding it. Now, another way of understanding it is that, okay, like in the dream, let's say you fall asleep, and then you start to create a dream. Okay, what is dream? Okay, you start to see human beings, you start to see houses, cars, the COVID-19 and so forth in the dream. And what are these? These are nothing what your mind is creating. The moment your mind projects things, and believe them as real, that is samsara. There's nothing really there as samsara is outside. Your mind projects things as objectively real, and you believe them as objectively real, that is samsara. Okay, so with this, okay. Okay, now let's say that the bodhisattvas, okay, some people they say that the bodhisattvas are better than the Buddhas. This is all because of the misconception of what a samsara is, misconception of what nirvana is. They think that there's a nirvana someplace outside, very far away from samsara, and then the Buddhas, they left samsara, they go there. And the bodhisattvas, they deliberately stay in samsara, they don't go to nirvana. This is a total misconception. So what the real understanding is that there's no comparison between the bodhisattvas and the Buddhas. Million, trillion times the Buddhas are more effective in no comparison, in fact, in terms of benefiting beings. So therefore the bodhisattva means the beings who pray that may I become Buddha. The bodhisattva will never pray that may I become bodhisattva, right? So they pray that may I become Buddha. So if they don't pray that may I become Buddha, they are no bodhisattvas in the first place. By the very definition, bodhisattva means may I become Buddha, which means they know that Buddha is far, 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 without any comparison, better, more effective in benefiting beings than the bodhisattvas. Okay, this is what we need to keep in mind. Now, it says that, yes, the Buddhas, they're totally free from samsara because they don't project things, but they continue to serve the sentient beings. Whereas the bodhisattvas, let's say bodhisattvas till the 8th bhumi bodhisattvas, till that point, 7th bhumi, up to 7th bhumi bodhisattvas, they're still samsara. They are samsaric beings. Now they are in samsara, but particularly the bodhisattva, gade, paragade. When you reach the 3rd level, paragade, then the bodhisattvas, although they are in samsara, but they are not being affected by the samsaric the pains. In fact, it says that when you reach the 3rd level, path of seeing of the bodhisattva, then let alone the mental pains, they don't even have the physical pains. When you reach the 3rd level, 3rd path of seeing of the bodhisattva, minor path of seeing, not the path of seeing of the Sharavakas and Predicate Buddhas, but the path of seeing of the Mahayana. So when you reach that, you don't have the mental pains, you don't have the physical pains. Even the physical, somebody slaps, somebody hits, somebody cuts. Ordinary people will feel the pain. Ordinary people, how can this person bear the pain? For the bodhisattvas, there's a bliss instead of the pains. This is what the text says. For the bodhisattvas, these are something which are really inconceivable. So therefore, the bodhisattvas, what they do is that they are in samsara, but they are not being affected by the samsaric influences because of the experience of the emptiness. Because they experience the emptiness, they are not being affected by the influence of the samsaras. And yet they don't leave the samsara because of compassion. So the fear means that one leaves samsara. So bodhisattvas, it is said that bodhisattvas, if they exert themselves, then they can achieve nirvana on the third path of seeing. They can achieve nirvana, the path of seeing. But for them, the samsara, there's nothing really good there. They know that. There's nothing really good there. But samsara cannot really influence them with the pains and so forth to deter them from following the path. The samsara cannot do that. Because of this, for them, their focus is more on helping the beings rather than getting themselves out of samsara. When there is the eighth bhumi, automatically they are out of samsara. They continue to help the beings, but they are out of samsara, which means that they are freed from samsara. The self-grasping ignorance is removed completely from the root. Okay. So with this, what is said here, okay, screen sharing, David La. Good. One is able to remain in samsara for the sake of those who suffer due to ignorance. So the Bodhisattvas, while they're in samsara, they can get out of samsara when there is a path of seeing. But when there is a path of seeing, they are in samsara, but they are not being affected by the samsara. They are not being affected by the samsara because of the wisdom of emptiness. They are not attached to samsara because of the wisdom of emptiness. Yet they don't run away the way the Shravakas and Pradik Buddhas, they don't run away from this out of acute fear because of the compassion towards sentient beings for the sake of those who suffer due to ignorance. Okay, 53. As this is the case now, because of the presentation, how the wisdom of emptiness, only when you get the wisdom of emptiness, then you are freed from any influence by the projection of any influence of the other things, that you are not being affected by any object. As this is the case, disputing against emptiness is improper. So understanding emptiness, this is the solution to take us out of samsara. Against emptiness improper. Therefore, without indecision, please meditate on emptiness. This is how it is being explained, that finally for your own benefit, to get out of samsara and to achieve Buddhahood for all sentient beings, the emptiness must be the thing to be meditated upon. It's for this reason that the meditation emptiness alone is regarded as the liberating path, and all the other practices are referred to as the ripening paths. Ripening paths. For example, Bodhisattva practice, Shamatha practice, all the other practice, whatever, keeping aside the wisdom of emptiness, all other are referred to as the ripening paths. The wisdom of emptiness alone is referred to as the liberating path. That we are not to forget. So meanwhile, the wisdom of emptiness alone, if you have the wisdom of emptiness, then without any other practices, you will automatically become nirvana, achieve nirvana. No, that doesn't happen. Say the medicines. For example, if you're suffering from tuberculosis, the medicines, this is the final path to take you to the freedom from tuberculosis. Isoniazid, rifampicin, ethambutol. These are the final liberating path. But if the medicines are living there they are left there on the table, and it will not come to you, and in order for you to really ingest the medicines, you will need water, and you need to do good food, because without the good food, then the body will be too weak to digest these medicines. So you need all the other factors. So in other words, all the aspects of the path are not to be missed. As I indicated earlier, say the wisdom of emptiness is required, very strong arm is required to use the very sharp axe of the wisdom of emptiness, and this strong arm is wisdom, the bodhicitta, and this bodhicitta must be on the ground of the renunciation, and then the arm must be the skill that you just hit at the same point all the time. If you hit at different points, then you can never cut the tree. So you should be able to hit at the same point. That requires the shamatha, single point meditation. So we require all these practices for our ultimate benefit, to get rid of all the miseries and to embrace the maximum happiness. Okay. 54. Emptiness is a remedy to the darkness of afflictive and cognitive obscurations. So now this is more like the very rich, academically rich the summary made by Bodhisattva Shantideva, saying that finally our job, what is Dharma? Dharma is any attempt to remove the mental defilements so that your Buddha nature becomes manifest and you are freed from all what you did, you are free from all what you dislike, all the fears of life, and to embrace what you like. That is the infinite happiness. So for that, you have to remove the mental defilements. So what is Dharma? Dharma is any attempt from your side to remove these mental defilements so that Buddha nature inside becomes manifest. That is the Dharma. So what is that attempt? What is that attempt which will make me to remove these mental defilements? It's a wisdom. Because these mental defilements, say for example, if there's a grease, smeared on your cup, if you just wash it with the water, it will not go. Because water is not the counterforce to the grease. For the grease, you use something like detergent, like lemon, like say the acid. You use something, the detergent, so this will counteract the grease. Otherwise, you use water, however much you use the water, the grease will continuously be there, because these two are not contradictory forces. So what really clears the mental defilements, one gross, which is afflictive obscurations, and the other subtle, the cognitive obscurations. These two are there. So given that these two are of the nature of the either the self-grasping ignorance or the stains of the self-grasping ignorance, the counterflow must be the wisdom. To counteract the darkness of ignorance, it is only through cultivating the wisdom of the light of the wisdom. So this light of the wisdom of emptiness is the only remedy to remove the darkness of the afflictive obscurations and the cognitive obscurations. Okay, so how can someone wishing to achieve omniscience? What do you mean by somebody wishing to achieve omniscience? Means somebody who wishes to get rid of all the mental defilements. This is the meaning of seeking omniscience. So somebody who wishes to achieve omniscience quickly, not meditate on emptiness. Find out how to achieve omniscience is by remove the mental dirt. How to remove the mental dirt is by meditating on the emptiness. And if you don't meditate on emptiness and still you say that I want to become the Buddha, I want to achieve omniscience, this is just a contradictory. Okay, so be it for personal liberation or be it for the Buddhahood, one must have to meditate on emptiness. Meanwhile, let's not forget that the Bodhisattva is required, then the renunciation is required, shamatha practice is required, and then, if possible, try to have this wisdom transmuted from the gross version to the subtle one in the form of clear light mind. Wisdom manifested in the form of clear light to see the emptiness of objectivity. This is what incorporates the complete path for one to tread the Bodhisattva path. 55. Since grasping at true existence of things gives rise to the suffering. Now let's see. What we dislike is the suffering, and what we like is the happiness. And the suffering is the result of the afflictive obscurations. And afflictive obscurations, they are rooted to the ignorance, self-grasping ignorance. So what it says, since grasping at the true existence of things gives rise to all the sufferings, which we fear. We fear the suffering. So if you really fear the suffering, we have to fear the grasping at the true existence. We should not fear the wisdom of emptiness. Instead, we should show affinity. We should show fondness to the wisdom of emptiness, because that is a panacea to heal yourself, to remove all all suffering. While realizing emptiness pacifies that suffering, why be fearful about the wisdom realizing emptiness? Okay, why this statement is made was that in the olden times, it is said that in the olden times, I don't know nowadays, but in the olden times, it is said that when this debate between the two traditions, the personal liberation seeker tradition and the minor traditions, when the debates were so prominent in those days, in the olden India, so prominent. Then there's some of the advocates, particularly Vaibhashika and Sautrantikas, advocates of personal liberation path. These people, when they see the minor practitioners reciting Heart Sutra, form is empty, then they express fear. They're talking that there's no form is empty. So they close their ears and they run away. These were all what happened in those days. Today, now, it's a different story. So people really show fear to hear about the emptiness concept. And of course, experientially speaking, who actually meditate on emptiness, when you first get the glimpse of emptiness, that's a fear. That is a different story. This is not what is being said here. What is being said here is that you're talking about emptiness, that everything's empty. It's very scary. There's no nirvana. There's no Buddhahood. There's no three jewels. There's no law of karma. This is what we're saying. It's a very scary concept. This is a very the nihilistic concept. So this is what the people who do not, who adhere to the objective existence, they see this teaching group, the class of teaching referred to as the minor teachings, as very fearful, as very scary. To see that it's talking about that nothing exists, the objectively that nothing exists, is everything is like illusion. Whereas in reality, now from all these lines of reasoning, we come to realize that at the moment you have the objectification happens, is your mind which is objectifying things. The moment you objectify, then you are trapped there. How you are trapped? Let me put it in 5 points. First, what we do is that, it is exactly like how it happens in the dream. So first, let's relate it to the dream and then relate it to the real meaning. So let's say you fall asleep and you start to have a dream. What happens first? Dream means that your mind starts to project things. So first, your mind projects things, number one. Number two, you are unaware that you're projecting it. Okay, how many of you in your dream, you came to know that, oh, now my mind is projecting the dream. How many of you realize that in the dream? Raise hands. Okay, now my mind is projecting the dreams. Okay, Sonia and Milind and Aki, Hila. Okay, then you stop dreaming, you stop projecting, or what do you do? You continue to project it. Aki? You let your mind continue to project it, or you stop projecting it?
I think I have no control. The dream just continues.
Okay. In which case, my question is, how many of you are aware that, okay, now I'm projecting the dream? In the dream. Okay. So look, but the fact is that, how many agree with me that actually it is you who's actually projecting the dream? Raise hands. Although you are not aware, but it is you who's projecting the dream. Raise hands. Very good. Number one, we all agree that you are projecting the dream, contents of the dream, number one. Number two, you are unaware that you're projecting it. Number two, you are unaware that you're projecting it. Raise hands who agree with me. Very good. Number two, fulfilled. Number three, because of that, you see the dream as real, not projection. You see dream as objectively real. Okay, that makes sense. Raise hands. Very good. Number three is finished. Because of that, then the dream tends to scare you. The dream tends to scare you, and it affects you. Number four, how many agree with me? Raise hands. Very good. Okay, because it affects you, either you jump to the goals or you run away. You react. Number five. How many agree? Raise hands. Very good. Okay, this is exactly how we operate in samsara. Our mind, like the dreaming mind, we project things. At the moment, each one of us, we are looking at the screen. We're projecting the screen. We're projecting. And how many of you know that Yes, I'm projecting it. How many you are aware of that? You're not aware of that resonance. Very good. Number two, you're not aware of that. Because you're not aware of that, you already projected where? On the object. Say, you are here, the movie screen is here, and the movie projector is here. The movie is projected on the screen, and the small children, very young children, age 2, age 3, they are unaware that the projector behind them is projecting the movie. Or because of which, they believe the movie as real from the object. So we project things, number one. Number two, we are unaware that we are projecting it. Number two, because we are unaware, we see things as objectively real, coming from the object, not from the subject, but coming from the object. Number three, because we see things that's coming from the object, it is nice, you want it, you go towards it. It's not nice, you run away from it. This is how the object affects you. Object gives you the fear, gives you the pleasant feeling, and then you react. Either you run away from it or you're pulled by the object. So this is the reaction. And this reaction is karma. And this karma, again, leaves the imprint within your mind to throw you into experiences in the form of samsaric experiences. This is how samsara operates. Okay, this is samsara. Okay, with this in mind, David Lam, screen sharing. Okay. Since grasping true existence of things gives rise to the suffering, which we fear, while realizing emptiness pacifies that suffering, why be fearful about wisdom realizing emptiness? So therefore, wisdom realizing emptiness, there's nothing for us to be afraid of, because this is the one which removes our fear. Why should we be afraid of that? It helps us to remove the fear. We should embrace it, because we don't want fear. We want to remove the fear. We have to embrace those things which actually help us to remove the fear. What is that? The wisdom of emptiness, not the grasping at the true existence. So be afraid of the grasping true existence, embrace the wisdom of emptiness to get rid of all the fears. Okay. So now the next part is reasons that establish the view of emptiness. Now, okay, with all these, the backgrounds created so well about the wisdom of emptiness, how it helps us to be freed from samsara, and the need for us to see the emptiness of objective existence very precisely. The next question is, how can we understand emptiness? Okay, for that, we see that, okay, let us look at this. Let's say that, okay, let's say that, okay, I am scared. Okay, now let's say that now the vaccines for the COVID is being happening, vaccination is happening, and people for the last like 2 years, they felt so suffocated to be by themselves, locked down. Now the vaccines are happening, and then because of which the COVID cases also declining. Okay, and then people who can see things beyond, or who can see things a little further away, after 4 months, after 5 months, 6 months, and what the people are doing now, how they are being so impatient, and so forth, then they could see the prospective third wave. They could see the prospective third wave. Third wave is not like a wave flowing from somewhere else, like the tsunami flowing towards your country. No, it's the people. The people simply today, nowadays, look, I've been hearing about getting this news from the hill stations in India, like Dharamsala, Shimla, and so forth. The number of the tourism simply is exploding. Number of tourists simply exploding without the mask. Without the mask. Yeah, this is what is happening. And then the wave simply comes so fast. In other words, it spreads so fast. It spreads so fast. Now, it is even more effective nowadays with the what is it, Delta version, Delta variant, and all these things. New versions are coming up. Earlier, it should be just the droplets. Now it's the aerosol. And now even the aerosol is even becoming more effective. So fast, traveling, spreading. So this is third wave. So let's say that I can see the prospect of the third wave now is very scary, so scary, right? And then when that happens, when the number of the COVID simply explodes, it's very scary, right? You're at the office, you say the COVID people are there. You go at home, your neighbor, all of COVID people. Where to go now? Nowhere to go, right? And one day you may be the COVID person yourself, and people will be afraid of you. Oh, this is it. Very scary. So the point is that, let's say that I don't want this fear. I'm just fed up with this fear, the fear of COVID. Likewise, the fear of death, and the fear of the prospect of the separation from my near and dear ones. All forms of fears, thinking about these realities. And then we can think a little beyond this, the fear of what the next life is. The fear of what next life. What after 100 lives, 500 lives, and so forth. It's so scary. Think of that. I don't want this fear. I don't want this fear. How is this fear arising? This fear is arising when the two things come together. That is I, the person who experiences the person who experiences the fear, and the object. COVID-19, or death, or sickness, or the undesirable neighbor, or undesirable situation, whatever, object and yourself, the self and the object that this self encounters with. So there are two things. You see the self as objectively real, and you see the object with which you interact as objectively real. So with this, then the fear and all these emotions arise. So on that, okay, don't worry. The fear, why do we need to have the fear? Because the object to which you feel, the interaction with which the fear arises, even that object is like a dream. And even you, the dreamer, is also a dream. What is dreamt is a dream. The dreamer is also like a dream. When you realize that, okay, so the point is that when we get a glimpse of emptiness, just a glimpse of emptiness, and then the object, whatever object, the interaction with which there's little agitation or irritation coming in you, just you meditate your emptiness with that, and instantly, if you get the correct emptiness, instantly you expect to feel that this unease simply dissolves in the thin air. And likewise, you just meditate your emptiness of self, and you get it properly. If you get it properly there, then the moment you get it, instantly there's the uneasiness dissolves, like the knot unentangled. Okay, that was the kind of experience being shared by the great teachers. So with this, what happens is that, which means that I need to see the emptiness of the object, I need to see the emptiness of myself, and the emptiness of the object. Yes. So the self is a person. This is known as the selflessness of the person. And then the selflessness of the phenomena with which you interact. So this whole concept of selflessness or the emptiness is taught split into two divisions: selflessness of person and the selflessness of phenomena. So Bodhisattva Deva here in this text, he taught the selflessness of person first, followed by selflessness of phenomena. Whereas Acharya Chandrakirti, in his text, Madhyamika Avatar, he taught the selflessness of phenomena first, followed by selflessness of the person. And people debate, say which of the two selflessnesses should you realize first, whether it's selfless phenomena or the person. There are so many debates going there. It doesn't matter. Just meditate, study, reflect, and meditate, and then you will decide which you're going to recognize first. It doesn't matter. Your job is do it. Cook the food and then let the first let the food come out. right? Without cooking the food, just debating, right? Of course, you can debate, is fine. But meanwhile, let us not miss to study, do extensive studies, do extensive reflection, and then meditate. Whatever, with the study, you get the information. You gather the information. We gather information for you to reflect on. Then the reflection will give you conviction. Yes, things are empty of objective existence. Yes, things are what my mind is projecting. This conviction you'll gain with the reflection. Whatever conviction that is gained through reflection, through rich studies and rich reflection, then you put it into meditation. Then as like once you find the medicine for tuberculosis, you keep taking it for continuously every day. Keep taking for the next 6 months. Don't keep gap. So likewise, we are then, once you gain conviction that things are really empty of objective existence, they're all coming from the projection of my own mind, my own projection. Once you gain a profound conviction in this, then our job is just keep meditating on this, habituate on this, like taking the doses of the medicines. Keep doing it on a daily basis. With this, then say simply by getting information about emptiness, you know what emptiness is. This will not remove your it will not bring transformation in your mind. Just the surface transformation may take place, but the deep transformation will not take place. And the conviction, number two is conviction gained through reflection, profound reflection. Again, the transformation will not take place, but you become very confident that, okay, now my afflictions, there's no ground for these afflictions to arise. Say they're all grounded on the wrong belief that things exist objectively, but things are 100% not really objectively real. This conviction will gain a firm confidence that if I put effort, these afflictions will come to be nullified altogether. Then our job is to continue practicing this. Okay, this is what we expect to do. So with this in mind, to meditate on the selflessness of the person and the selfless phenomena with which the person interacts. So selfless of person and selfless of phenomena. So first we have the selfless of the person taught here. And before this, my teacher, Venerable Geshe Rinpoche, is very, very particular. He's a brilliant philosopher, a great practitioner and the logician, and one of the top-notch scholars and the practitioner in the monastic universities, academic monastic universities there. So I'd like to share a basic the structure of the emptiness meditation according to my teacher's explanation on the basis of what is known as the four essentials. The four essentials, yeah. And the four essentials to establish emptiness. And this you can apply for selfless person or the selfless phenomena both. The same reasoning can be applied for both. The four essentials. First, we have to identify what the four essentials are. The four essentials to establish emptiness. Number one, essential of identifying the object of negation. Essential of identifying the object of negation, number one. Number two, essential of understanding the emptiness of the objects being one with its parts. Let me repeat it. The essential of understanding the emptiness of the objects being, okay, let me be very clear as per the instruction of my teacher, is the essential of understanding the emptiness of the objects being intrinsically one with its parts. Essential of understanding the emptiness of the objects being intrinsically one with its parts. Number three, essential of understanding the emptiness of objects being intrinsically different from its parts. And number four, the essential of understanding the pervasion, essential understanding the pervasion that anything which is empty of being intrinsically one. Let me repeat it. Essential of understanding the pervasion that anything which is empty of being, intrinsically one and intrinsically different from its parts, entails the emptiness of objective existence of the object. Okay, let me repeat it. The essential of understanding the pervasion that anything which is empty of being intrinsically one and intrinsically different from its parts entails the emptiness of objective existence of the object. Essential of understanding the pervasion that anything which is empty of being, intrinsically one and intrinsically different from its parts, entails the emptiness of objective existence of the object. Okay. These are the 5 points on the basis of which we establish emptiness, and these 4 points will be extremely helpful. There are so many reasonings given to establish emptiness. Somehow they are related to these 4. They're all related to these 4. Okay. The first one, which is the essential of understanding the object of negation. This is very important. In fact, last time the Yakila asked the question as to how can we know that I have really realized emptiness. How can you know that? So for that matter, say all these reasoning, one may reflect on that, but whether you get the emptiness or not, that is determined by to what extent you have identified the object of negation. The first one, the first essential. So if you fail to get the first essential, then you become very far away from emptiness. There's no way by which you can see whether you have understood emptiness. So the first one is very important. What you are going to reject. When you say emptiness, means that you are seeing the emptiness of something, that you are rejecting something. What is that thing that you are rejecting? We should be very precise. Okay, for this, we need to know what is known as the maximalist redundancy and the minimalist inadequacy. Maximalist redundancy and the minimalist inadequacy. Okay, this is what we need to keep in mind. What is meant by maximalist redundancy? The same, if you say that, oh, what is emptiness? Emptiness, what is emptiness of flower? Emptiness of flower means flower does not exist, which means that what I rejected is I reject the flower. If I reject the flower, then I'm saying that there's no flower. Then when you require flower to offer to all the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, flower does not exist. What are you going to offer? So you reject more than what is to be rejected. You're not supposed to reject the flower, but flower is existent. You reject more than what is to be rejected. You have to reject objective existence of flower, but not the flower. So not only that you reject the objective existence of flower, you also reject the flower, which means that you fall into the problem of the maximalist redundancy. It is redundant. You reject more than what is to be rejected, the flower. Okay, and then the next says that, okay, yeah, flower exists. Flower is not being negated. What is to be negated? Objective existence. What is meant by objective existence? Objective existence means a permanent flower. A permanent flower. When you reject the permanent flower, still the objective existence is not rejected. So this is known as the minimalist inadequacy. What you rejected is too inadequate that objective existence is still not yet rejected. Too small. What you reject too small that you cannot reject the objective existence. One is you reject the objective existence plus the flower both. That is maximalist redundancy. And the other one is you don't reject the objective existence, you reject something else which is much grosser. Much grosser. You fail to reject the objective existence. That is minimalist inadequacy. If you fall under any of these two problems, then you will not be able to see emptiness precisely. So for that matter, to get emptiness precisely, you need to know what you are rejecting is not maximalist redundancy, and what you're rejecting is not minimalist inadequacy. This is so important. For that matter, we need to identify, or we need to understand the 5 levels of this selflessness. If you know this, then these 5 levels of selflessness, they have the corresponding object of negation. They have the corresponding object of negation from, say, the first one is the emptiness of permanent, unitary, independent self. The first one of the 5, emptiness, permanent, unitary, independent self, number 1. Number 2 is emptiness of autonomous substantial reality. Number 3 is emptiness of external reality. Number 4 is emptiness of true existence while not rejecting objective existence. And finally, emptiness of objective existence. So 5. So these 5, because that they differ in subtlety, progressively they become subtler. From the first through to 5, as we go from first through to 5, it progressively becomes subtler. Because they are progressively become subtler, the corresponding objects of negation, what do you negate? With each one of them, they progressively become subtler. Even the object of negation becomes subtler. So, which means that the object of negation, in the case of these 5, they're all different. They're all not same. They're all different from each other. And from the first through to number 5, it progressively becomes subtler. What you're rejecting becomes subtler. Because of this, the emptiness that you get also becomes subtler. So with this in mind, it's very important for us to identify the object negation so well. This is so important. Okay, and let's say to give some very simple examples, why or how identify the object negation plays a very important role for your proper understanding of emptiness. To give you a simple example, is that let's say that let's say that you are the chief security guard. You are the chief security guard of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Your job is not to take care of His Holiness's food. No, you don't have to worry about it. There's somebody else who's taking care of that. Your job is to make sure that his security is strong. That is your job. Imagine that you get information from somewhere that, tomorrow a terrorist is coming. And there's a terrorist coming to you. Okay. A terrorist coming, which can be a threat to His Holiness's security. So you are the security guy. So your job is to make sure that this terrorist does not enter. So what do? Is that the simplest thing is that and you check with the person how long this terrorist will be around Dharamsala. For 1 month. For 1 month. Okay, for 1 month, no audience. Nobody's entitled to visit His Holiness. Nobody. Right? And you have the power. You have the chief security officer. You can stop anybody visiting His Holiness for the next 1 month. Okay. Will you be able to, so for the next 1 month, if you successfully do that, can you stop the terrorists? Answer is yes, you stop the terrorists. Terrorist is also a human being. Human being is not allowed to enter the campus of His Holiness. So terrorists is stopped. But not only do you stop the terrorists, you also stop Obama, also Bishop Tutu. Bishop Tutu, Obama, both of them are very close friends of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. They have so many things to discuss about humanity. So they come, they say that, I'm Obama. I want to have a meeting with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And then you say, no, you're a human being. You cannot come. For the next 1 month, no human being is allowed. Right? Okay, so there you are not only rejecting the terrorists, you're also rejecting non-terrorists. You're also rejecting non-terrorists. This is maximalist. You're overdoing. You do more than what is to be done. Your job is just to stop the terrorists, not to stop the healthy people, the good people. Not to stop them. That is your job. If you stop everybody, then you are falling to the problem of maximalist redundancy. This is a problem. Okay. Okay, that's a problem. You stopped Obama. Yes, of course. No, you are not a good the security chief. You may be replaced tomorrow, right? Okay, what should I do? You should only stop the terrorists, not the others. So what's the terrorist like, right? What's the terrorist like? Or the terrorists, let's say that the terrorists put on the glasses, put on the glasses, right? Okay, I'll stop all those who are with the glasses, and the next day, the terrorists remove the glass and will come. Right? Terrorists also watching you. You're watching the terrorists. Terrorists also watching you. What are you doing? What kind of announcements you are making, right? So, or the terrorists, all those who are with the specs, don't allowed, and the terrorists will remove the specs and will come in. So you cannot stop the terrorists in this case. You are saying in this case the problem is the minimalist inadequacy. That what you negate is too small, way less than what you have to negate it. And the other one is you negate too large, way more than what is expected. So these two problems must be avoided in order to be very efficient the chief security. Likewise, for you to be very efficient in understanding emptiness, you must be able to negate exactly what is to be negated, not more, not less. Not more means not falling into maximalist redundancy problem, not into minimalist inadequacy problem. Okay, this is so important. Number one. Now that for this, the question is, okay, then what is the object negation? What is the object negation? When you say that I don't have what's that? Okay, let's say I don't have I don't have the gun in my hand. What is a gun? We have to know what a gun is. Likewise, when you say the flower does not exist objectively, you have to know what is objective existence. So when the flower does not exist objectively, does not, you negate, does not means you negate the flower being objectively real. The flower does not exist objectively. So you're negating something. What is that thing that you're negating? When you speak about emptiness, what is that thing? Okay, how many of you agree with me that the flower doesn't exist objectively? We speak of the emptiness of flower, the flowers and the emptiness of flower and the emptiness of myself. When you speak about the emptiness, what we negate is objective existence. Let's say related to the flower, objective existence of the flower is to be negated. Objective existence of flower is the object of negation. Raise hands. Very good. Now the more complicated question is, what do you understand by objective existence? This is the more complicated. The first one is relatively easy. When you study the text and what you negate is objective existence. There's no objective existence. Okay, from this you come to know that what is the objective negation of emptiness? Objective existence. What do you understand by objective existence? This question. Okay, anybody, very quick. Let's all listen to what the others have to say. What does it mean by objective existence to you? To you. Anybody raise hands? Very quick. Okay, we have 1 minute more now. Sure. Okay, Akila.
Well, it means that something exists in not being projected by my mind only. That if I really look for the real thing, I'll be able to find it out there without being projected by my mind.
Okay, something existing out there without being projected by my mind. This is the meaning of objective existence. Good. Anybody else? Anyone raise hands? Raise hands. Sure. Huh? Gorilla.
Ishila, something existing from the object side and not purely from the subject as mere imputation.
Something existing from the object, something exists from the object without purely being projected by the subject. Very good. Anybody else? Okay, how many agree with both of them? Okay, first, how many agree with Yakila? Okay, how many agree with Gorilla? Okay, how many agree with both? Okay, okay, good. Are they okay? Something existing, say the objective meaning, something existing from the object, where the subjective projection is not involved. Subjective projection, remove it, and still something is there from the object. This is known as objective existence. Okay, first, this is very good. The presentation. Thank you, both of you. At the same time, during we have to study more, and then in your own meditation, you come across various layers, in what we call as the coming from the mind. Within that, again, there are so many layers there. For example, where the Chitta represents everything's nature of the mind. There's nothing there from outwardly from the object. It's purely what is. It's just a reflection in one's mind. It's coming from the mind. Chitta version is not the emptiness or objective existence. So there are so many versions there. For the time being, let us keep it like this. And then meanwhile, let's not forget these 5 layers. You have to study these 5, and then the more you go into this analysis of the 5, clearer you will understand what's the objective negation related to the emptiness or objective existence. Okay, good. Now the next part, what is seen as from the object, something independent of my mind. This is known as the objective existence. That is deceptive. In other words, when we see the flower, we don't see the flower like a dream. When you see somebody else, your mom, your family members, your friends, and the people around you, you don't see them as a dream coming from your mind. We see them as so independent there. That is known as the objective existence. And that is deceptive. And how do we know that that is deceptive? This is the question. How do we know that that is deceptive? Okay, it's already 3:32. We'll stop here. Okay. So as Shahara indicated, what you do is that the Shahara and Atibara's program coordinator will discuss in consultation between them. Then they will set up a date, like what we did the last 10 sessions. We need another 10 sessions. Yeah, we need another 10 sessions for this. We don't really need 10 sessions. It can be like six sessions is good enough. But for time, let's plan like 10. And if we finish by 6 sessions, that's even better. Yeah. Then we can have more question answers. Yeah. Okay. So meanwhile, what I would suggest is that if possible, given that there's going to be like a little time gap, perhaps like 1 month or 1.5 months gap, I would suggest that if you can do a little bit of revision of what we did already, pertaining to listening to the recordings again or going through your notes and so forth, do a little bit of revision so that the next class will not be like a total they totally disconnected from what you learned before. Okay, one or two questions if you have. One or two questions if you have. Raise hands. Okay, Poon King.
Thank you, Geshe. Regarding the 3 levels of dependent origination, the first level, cause and effect, second, home made from the parts, and the third, the mental destination. Can you explain why the third level, the mental destination, is more important than the first 2 levels?
Okay, in fact, it is not that the third one is more important than the first 2. Third one is subtler than the first 2. We have to make the distinction that the third one is not more important than the first 2, because the first one is so important. First one is, it's about the whole karma, law of karma, all is there, and the law of karma is gone, and then the whole basic Buddhist concept is gone. So all 3 are equally important, but it is progressively becoming subtler. The third one is the subtlest as compared to the first and second. Not that the third one is more important. Okay, good. More questions? Huh? Okay, Kimla. Kimla, then Akila. Kim, yes.
Thank you, Geshe. I just want to sort of see the so-called, the connection, or, how when you give us explanation on the meditation of emptiness, where, the space-like and the illusion-like sort of meditation. Yeah. So with that kind of meditation, is it like gross, subtle, like gross emptiness, or in a gross level? Because when you reach the so-called space-like time, to me, it's like there's still me, who is experiencing the space-like. So therefore, I'm just wondering, with that kind of meditation, are we saying that is gross emptiness kind of a meditation? And then if that's the case, are we in terms of these 5 levels, are we in any of these 5 levels or 5 layers? Yeah, so.
Okay, Kim, thank you so much for your question. The question is, when we meditate on emptiness, we speak about the space-like emptiness meditation and the illusion-like emptiness meditation, the space-like emptiness meditation in the meditative state, and the post-meditative state of the illusion-like emptiness. Okay, with the space-like emptiness, when is it? Okay, space-like meaning that the object, that's the self, is empty of objective existence, where there's nothing to be identified as a self. And stay in this experience. The objective self dissolves in the eyes of your mind, and not only dissolves, not in the sense that it was there before and then gradually it becomes smaller and this there's not sense that you discover that it doesn't exist at all in the first place. You discover that. Once you get it, then stay in this experience. That is referred to as the meditative state of the space-like emptiness. Space-like emptiness. So there, what Kim is saying is that when you go into the space-like emptiness, still you can see the meditator, that I'm meditating on this. There's a person there. There's a person there who's meditating on this. So what is this? In fact, in this class, we did not really discuss about affirming negative, non-affirming negative, positive phenomena. We did not really discuss on these. Most likely we have to do it next time. We have to do this, somebody has to remind me. Okay, okay, don't worry. So we have to do that. But the positive phenomena, negative phenomena, then affirming negative, non-affirming negative, And without this understanding, then a meditation emptiness will not become too well defined. It can be very murky, very the fuzzy. It will not be too clear. So this concept will explain in the next course. So meanwhile, the emptiness, in other words, the emptiness is a non-affirming negative. The moment the self, as the one who's meditating, when that comes to your mind, the positive phenomena comes to your mind, positive. Here, the positive negative does not mean something wholesome, non-wholesome. This is not a connotation. It is it is neutral in that sense. Positive, negative simply is the way and the manner in which the object appears to you. Say the flower appears to you, it appears as I'm the flower. Whereas the absence of flower appears to you, it is by rejecting, exclusively rejecting the flower, that absence of flower comes to your mind. That is known as the negative and non-affirming. So emptiness is always to be seen as non-affirming and negative. And the moment the person comes to your mind is a positive phenomena. That, okay, I'm meditating, I'm the one there. So when that person comes to your mind, the positive phenomenon comes to your mind, emptiness is again gone. So the point is that whereas when you meditate on this, and suddenly, I say, a tickling sensation comes to your mind, or comes to your body, or cold waves start to flow, or a tinge of fear comes to your mind. The moment these indications happen, you get not necessarily the precise emptiness, but something of the emptiness, non-affirming negative comes to your mind. But this experience will not last long. It's going to be just like a split of a second, it'll disappear, instantly disappear, which means that non-affirming you cannot retain the experience of the non-affirming negative. It simply disappears and will be replaced by the positive phenomena, such as the person. Oh, I'm meditating, my mind is meditating. When these things come, emptiness is gone. Again, you have to go back to the emptiness. So this will come, we'll do the fine polishing, fine tuning next time. Yeah, this is a very important question pertaining to the meditation. Okay, that's it. Okay, Akila.
All right, thank you, Geshe. So, Geshe, you explained the 4 essentials in meditating on selflessness or emptiness. And the first one was identifying the object of negation. But it seems that if you go through those 5 levels of selflessness, as Geshe explained, and you understand them deeply, then particularly when you transition, for example, from understanding the Madhyamika Svatantrika position to the Madhyamika Prasangika position, then you have already negated objective existence. So it seems that actually maybe you established the perversion before that, and then in order to show that there's no objectivity whatsoever, then you need to kind of first of all, it seems that you would establish the perversion, then do the negation, and then see that the object of negation is objective existence.
Okay, let us do like this. Let's say that this is about of the 5 is between number 4 and 5. Number 4 is the emptiness of true existence while not rejecting objective existence. This is number 4. Number 5 is emptiness of objective existence. In other words, Svatantrika Madhyamika does not reject objective existence. Let's not forget it. Svatantrika Madhyamika does not reject objective existence. They reject true existence. They reject ultimate existence, but they don't reject the objective existence. So for them, objective existence and existence, these two are synonymous. So now the point is that, of course, there are some scholars who say that these two schools, there's no difference in the object of negation. These two are the same. That's up to the individual. So finally, the point is that if you can appreciate the distinction, that there's a difference there, and that who said that there's no difference, then nothing to explore, that's fine. It's fine. Who said there is difference? This is where we can learn, and then we can go into the nuances. The nuances, the two are very, very close. The object negation is presented by Svatantrika Madhyamika and as presented by Prasangika. These two are very close. meaning that closed, they still closed. And then oftentimes, many scholars, they even say that the Swatantric Madhyamika's philosophy is, more appealing than the Prasangika. There are some scholars there. So that we don't worry about it. The point is that just see if there's a possibility. First, can we accept, or can you imagine, can you visualize the understanding where the Swatantric Madhyamika, they reject true existence, but not objective existence? This is the first thing that you have to explore. And if you say yes, that makes sense, that they accept true existence and they reject true existence, but they accept objective existence. Once you're able to say that, then you can move to Prasangika, say that, okay, what they accept as the rejection of the true existence and acceptance of objective existence. After rejecting true existence, still the objective existence is not negated. That is to be rejected. How do you reject it? So that is given by the Prasangika. This is done with Prasangika. But even for that matter, you have to identify precisely what is objective existence, which is subtler than true existence as posited by Svatantric Madhyamika. Okay, so this is where we always have to identify the objective negation first. Objective negation, it doesn't mean that, okay, they identify the objective negation. Okay, this is one thing. Identify the object negation doesn't mean, when you say I have identified object negation, means it doesn't mean that, okay, this is to be negated. I know that this is not there. No, this is not how we understand it. When we say that, okay, Prasangika is saying that objective existence is the object negation. So for them, emptiness means emptiness of objective existence. What is meant by objective existence? What is meant by objective existence? Whether it is existent or non-existent, that is the second step, not the first step. First step, right? First step is what the Prasangika calls as objective existence, and that is what they call as the objective negation. Objective existence, which they identify as the objective existence, is what they call as the objective negation. For me, if you ask me, is that the objective negation? Is that to be negated? I don't know, right? But do you precisely know what is the standard? What exactly does mean by objective existence? That I know, right? That I know. And then that I know what it means by, let's say that the objective existence. Yet, if you ask me whether it exists or not exists, I say thus far, I don't see any reason to reject it. And then you learn the reasons rendered by Prasangika. You apply this, oh, that does not exist. So then you will say that this is objective negation, not that this objective negation as per Prasangika. Okay, Yagila. Good.
Well, I still have some debates about it, but I have to think about them more precisely to be able to debate it.
Okay. Leorala.
Thank you, Geshe. When I thought about these questions, the difference between true existence and objective existence, I had to agree with Prasangika. There's no difference. However, can you please present the Svatantrika logic? What is the difference from their point of view? Except by saying that otherwise there is no difference between a snake and a rope, and please positively prove it. Don't just negate our attitude. What is their logical explanation for the difference between the two? The Svatantrika.
Okay. So basically, let us keep in mind that it is only Prasangika, whether in whether the label wise they accept, not accept, okay, that's fine. But objective existence, the way it is understood, it is only Prasangika who identifies that as objective negation. Let's not forget it. Then Svatantric Madhyamika, they reject what they call as true existence. True existence, for them, objective existence exists. There's nothing wrong in it. True existence, viewing something as truly existent, that's a problem. So they distinguish between, they demarcate between objective existence and true existence. Whereas for Prasangika, there's no difference. What you call as true existence, what you call as rejecting true existence, actually not rejecting true existence. True existence and objective existence mean the same for Prasangika. For on the Svatanta Madhyamika, these two are not same. These two are different. These two are different. Now for Svatanta Madhyamika, objective existence and existence, these two are same. Let's not forget it. Not only Svatanta Madhyamika, all the schools except Prasangika, existence and objective existence mean the same. If you reject objective existence, you are rejecting existence. If you reject existence, all what you posit is existence. They are just the imaginary existence. So what they say is that there is objective existence. There is no true existence. So what proof or what reasons do they give to say that there's no true existence? And for them, first of all, the way you are asking, how do they demarcate between these two? For them, for that demarcation, let's say that the flower exists objectively. If it does not objectively, then it becomes imaginary. This is the meaning of the objective existence for Savatana Madhyamika. But the flower does not exist truly. Flower does not exist truly. Because the flower, we see that it is like the magical illusion. Magical illusion which comes from the object as well as from the subject. Truly existent meaning 100% from the object. Truly existent meaning 100% from the object. The flower does not exist 100% from the object, it's partly from the object, partly from the subject. So whereas the objective existence means if there's no objective existence, nothing should exist from the object. It should become purely imaginary. So there should be some basis. There should be some basis for the flower to exist, to say that the flower exists. What is that? Objective existence. So for them, objective existence and existence of the flower, these two are synonymous. Meanwhile, they say that the flower doesn't exist truly because the flower is coming by the power of the contribution from the subject also. Subject also. So therefore, it is not truly existent. Because objectively also there is something there, therefore it exists objectively. Okay, and then the say most likely in the next course, in the next course, if Leorella studied for so long, and like Leorella and others who studied for long. If you have, I know that there are going to be more questions. Feel free to bring them up. I will not bring up the questions because if I bring up the questions, there's a rule with me. The rule says that if I come with the questions, I'm not give answers. I'm not entitled to give answers. Okay, so therefore, don't let me ask questions. Okay, so there are many questions. There are many questions, and I'm going to jump to all these questions. Things can become even more complicated. So let us give the answer according to questions coming from the audience. Okay, next question. Okay, Kama Subala.
Yesterday, when you were talking about death and rebirth with arhats, you said something, I think, this way, and faith in Dharma has a negative effect. Can you explain that at the time of death?
Say it again. At the time of death?
The time of death,
negative.
I think you said it this way. I'm not sure. faith in Dharma has a negative effect. Can you explain that?
Negative effects.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Okay, what I said is that those beings, those practitioners who the lower schools identified as arhats, so who are referred to as the purported arhats. According to Prasangika, they are not arhats, but the lower schools, they would identify them as arhats, and you can see a significant degree of having they subdued their afflictions. You can see them. So given that they think that that person is arhat, which means that already liberated from samsara, self-grasping ignorance already gone rid off. But Prasanga says that no, the person still has self-grasping ignorance, and because of this, person will take rebirth. And then in actuality, what happened to this person in actuality? So till closer towards the death is fine, or the person thinks that I'm arhat, and his followers also think that he's arhat, she's arhat. But the Prasanga thinks that, oh, not arhat, still the subtler afflictions are still there, the gross afflictions already subdued. Oh, that's fine. So there are some debates happening. But at the time of death, will this person actually take rebirth or not? This question. So what the text says is that yes, they will take birth. Not only take birth, some of them will lose faith in the Dharma, because they think that I have practiced Dharma, and I have the way that Dharma taught me that I'm liberated from the afflictions, I'm liberated from samsara. Now I can see that because their mind is extremely clear now, clear of all the mental afflictions, because of which their mind is so clear, to the extent that because of these, the samadhis are easily accomplished by these practitioners. With the samadhis accomplished, they also accomplish the what is known as the clairvoyance. They achieve clairvoyance, and then because of their own, they know the psychology so well, experiential psychology so well, closer to the death, they can see that now the 12 links of dependent origination, number 8 and number 9, craving and the grasping, these two are getting activated. They could feel that. Which means that they have not gotten rid of the afflictions altogether. Afflictions are still arising, very subtly these two are arising. And now the number 2, which is karma, is being germinated by these two to transform that into number 10, becoming, which is going to project me to the next involuntary birth. So the person would feel that happening, that process happening. Because of which, the answer is that I'm not arhat. And then what the text which I depend on says is not true, is wrong, because experience I can see that I'm not arhat. The text, as per the text, I'm arhat, but I'm not arhat. So they lose faith in the text. The text, unfortunately, text is not a complete text, it's incomplete. It only taught the emptiness of autonomous substantial reality. He did not depend on the text which taught the emptiness of objective existence. There's a problem. But he or she thought that this is the whole text, this complete text. And this does not really, what it says doesn't hold true. Now I can experientially feel it. So the person's faith is shaken. Because of this, and yes, of course, because of this, then the consequences are there. When you lose faith in the Dharma, the consequences are very severe. Yeah. Okay. More questions? All right. Okay. We'll stop here. And as I said earlier, now okay. By the way, good. Okay. Yes, we will have the, yeah, so what I would suggest is that all of us, what we learned earlier, so see if you can do a revision, that then next session will be easy. Otherwise, the next session, it's meant to be continuation from where we are left now. If you don't do the revision, it becomes like again a new participant, and it'll become complicated for us. Okay, so with this in mind, we'll do the end declaration prayer. Okay, let us pray that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, the true source of joy and happiness on this earth, that he lives long and that his wishes be fulfilled spontaneously. And let us also pray that the ultimate source of joy, happiness, to get rid of the suffering, is the teachings of the Buddha. May all the Dharma centers of the different traditions of Theravada, Chinese Buddhism, and within Tibetan Buddhism, Sakya, Nyingma, Kaikyu, Gelug, Chonang, Pudong, Pudin, all these traditions of the very genuine traditions where the traditions and the centers, the respective centers, where the genuine teachings of the Buddha are being studied, reflected, and meditated upon, may these centers thrive in the Dharma activities. And let us also pray that the COVID-19 subsides from this world altogether, that the education institutions, they're able to revive the education standard, and that everyone is able to enjoy their life as before. And let's pray that all those who died with COVID-19 and all those who died otherwise as well, may they meet with the favorable birth, to meet with the Dharma of the Bodhisattva and wisdom of emptiness, and that the afflictive and carnal obstructions are removed completely. Each one of them become the beacon of the hope, the beacon of freedom for all the dear sentient beings. And all those who are sick, hospitalized in their respective homes, let's pray that they recover as soon as possible, to have a reunion with their family members, and their life becomes so productive in the way of the Dharma. And let me pray that each one of you, through a concerted effort in the studies and reflection and meditation of the Bodhisattva, the wisdom of emptiness, may each one of you soon see the dawn of the Bodhisattva and the wisdom of emptiness, that each one of you becomes such a reliable guide to lead all dear sentient beings towards ultimate happiness. May the Dharma of the wisdom of emptiness, may the Dharma of the Bodhisattva flourish in the minds of all dear sentient beings today and the future. Okay, with that in mind, let's imagine that you are leading this and all beings are joining you in this recitation. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful chariots, the Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. Just as the brave Manjushri and Samadhi true realize things as they are, also I dedicate all these merits in the best way, that I may follow their perfect example. I dedicate all these roots of virtue with the dedication praised as the best by all the Buddhas who appear in the 3 times, so that I might perform the noble Bodhisattva's deeds. Chanjo Sanjo Remboche Magya Bonam Ge Gyoroche Gyabo Nyamba Meba Yaha Kone Kondo Pevarai. May the Supreme Bodhisattva that is not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which is arisen not diminished but increase forevermore. As long as space remains, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I truly remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all beings without exception into that enlightened state. I dedicate the merit thus gathered towards the realization of the deeds and the prayers of all the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas of 3 times, and to the upholding of the Dharma of teaching and realization. May I, in all lives, through the force of this merit, never separate from the four wheels of the Mahana vehicle, and accomplish all the stations of the path, renunciation, bodhicitta, perfect in the two stages. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind of full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. I go for refuge to the Triple Gem. I confess the negativities individually. I rejoice the virtues of all the beings. I hold the precious Buddhahood in my heart. By the power of practicing and supplicating to you, may all be free from sickness, poverty, and conflicts, and may Dharma and the auspicious proliferate in all the places where we abide. The path of union of emptiness and compassion is lucidly explained by the protective Buddha Dharma and the beginning land of snows. You are the lotus holder Tenzin Gyatso. We supplicate you that you wish us to fulfill spontaneously. May the operations of evil thoughts and deeds of the negative forces of humans or non-humans who hereby manage through perverted prayers against the teachings of the Buddhas be totally vanquished through the power of the truth of the three jewels. In all my lives, never separate from perfect gurus, may enjoy the magnificent Dharma by completing the qualities of the stations and the paths, may cool attain the state of Vajratara. Throughout my future lifetimes, may I always be guided by the Majishri and be able to uphold the Dharma in general and the teachings on dependent origination in particular, even in the course of my life. Eyoto Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasam Gate Bodhiswatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswatyata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasamgate Bodhiswaha.
Thank you so much, Geshe-la. Before we say goodbye, we'd just like to have a few acknowledgements. So first, I would like to thank all participants who joined us on this course and shared with us this wonderful learning experience. Of course, everybody is invited to stay updated with the details of the continuation of these teachings and also check other online activities and that we have on our website, on our YouTube channel. Also, I would like to thank you for your donations. We really appreciate your support of the activities of the Dharma Friends of Israel. Some of you have expressed some technical difficulties using PayPal, so please note that there is a button for using credit cards, so thank you so much. Then I would like to thank some of the people who made this course possible. So first, everybody who initiated and coordinated this course at the Dharma Friends of Israel, Shacharla, Liorala, Gilala, Ikila, and all other Dharma friends who helped organizing and carrying it out. I would also like to take this opportunity and especially thank the Tibet House team, Tenzin Ladola, Tenzin Domela, and everybody else at Tibet House for their dedicated work in supporting our group in this teaching and enabling us and so many around the world to enjoy Geshe-la's teachings. Thank you, Venerable Yakila, for the Hebrew revisions and for all your efforts to bring the Dharma closer to us. And of course, Geshe-la, on behalf of the Dharma Friends of Israel and all participants of this course, I would like to thank you so much for your most inspiring teachings on this deep and intricate wisdom chapter of the Bodhisattva Charyavatara. Thank you for being so patient with our current limited knowledge and understanding that have now grown thanks to your skillful guidance and personal attention. I'm sure it was a very challenging and meaningful experience for us all. So again, we thank you sincerely. And we are really looking forward to receive teachings from you again and complete this wonderful text real soon. And also hopefully sometime soon in person in Israel. Thank you so much, Geshe-la.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, David La. Thank you, Shahala, and thank you all the Yakila, and thank you all those who are involved to help Shahala to make for all of our meeting together. This is so precious, and the Buddha said that the meeting of the like-minded people towards the same goal of enlightenment. That is so precious. That is the greatest of the fortitude. This is what the Buddha said. And I'm so happy that we are meeting together towards the same goal. Okay, please take care and be happy. Yeah, see you again. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Geshe-la.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Geshe-la.
Geshe-la.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Geshe-la.
Thank you. Thank
Geshe-la.
you.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Take care, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, Tenzin. Thank you, everyone. And Geshe-la.